All right. I say welcome to the 47th meeting of the Junto Club. We are inspired by, an original Junto Club founded by Benjamin Franklin about, 300 years ago to discuss topics including politics, philosophy, science, and business. And today's main topic for me is it's a book called, basically it's about leadership, how team works together too. It's called Turn the Ship Around. I would talk about that later in this getting more in details, but that's the main topic for today. And so actually to start, because usually we start with a quote, right? So before I talk about the quote, I want to start with a question for you guys. And today's a quote. The question is, when you think of leadership, right? Who or what comes to mind?
I mean, the first thing that comes to mind is presidents like
President.
Obama.
Okay.
Oh, I was gonna say for me, sometimes that's funny because a president didn't even occur to me. I was thinking like military, like like a battlefield general type thing. I guess I think about it like old school. But,
Yeah. Okay. And what I guess in your view now, what's a good leader, and what's a good leader look like, and what does a good leader do? What is a good leader basically?
I mean, I would say what makes a good leader is their ability to like get people to do things successfully. So I think it comes around to like motivation and like the ability to like analyze the people they're working with's like abilities, and delegate appropriately and like manage personal stuff, right? Because if you can motivate and allocate the work well to your team, then you can have a successful team, and that's kind of the leader's job. That's what I would say.
Yeah,
Okay.
no, I think that's well put because it covers sort of across the spectrum because, I think leaders in different areas need to function very differently, right? Like, I mean, a leader on the battlefield, like in, old school times, like the best leaders were often the bravest, the strongest because they like showed like, they were the ones who led their men to fight. Whereas like, I guess leaders now in battle it may be more about strategy, right? Like where to put the best people at the right time. And or a leader like a football coach, like basically it's getting your guys to buy into it and like exploiting their skills relative to like your opponent. So I mean, yeah.
Nice. And the point of motivation, I like the point of motivation. I think Mike, you also touched on it too. You kind of need to get them in the kind of engage, basically in the buy into the stuff, right? So motivating to do the stuff. Okay. What do you think about the quote of like good leader create followers?
Well, I mean, I guess it's what's your definition of good there, because I mean there are plenty of like cult leaders who get followers, but I guess they get followers, but they usually kill them and their followers. So, but
I'm mixed on that quote as well. I guess it depends. I mean, because if you say followers in the sense of like buying into, the system, the work, whatever, that's important. But one of the things I think about from a good leader is a good leader will give like autonomy to their subordinates, right?
Mm-hmm.
So, it's almost like a good leader doesn't want a bunch of followers, but they want to coordinate a bunch of like, you know, independent, motivated and like competent people. I don't know. This is loose about what you mean by follower, right? But like
Mm.
usually the best leaders aren't micromanaging. The best leaders let people, sort of go off and do their thing.
right, they're not getting drone followers there, but like at a high level, they're all working toward the same goal.
Yeah.
So,
Nice, nice. I do like, actually, I really like your guys' interpretations, and because the second part of this quote is good leaders create followers, but great leaders create leaders, basically.
Oh man.
um,
I don't think I've heard that quote before, so
Yeah. So I like this quote. I heard this from rabbi. Rabbi, is it rabbi? Rabbi,
Rabbi,
right?
yeah.
A rabbi. Lord Jonathan Sachs. So anyway, he's a very good religious leader, and he was, I think, Lord because he's in Britain. So, but he passed away recently. But I heard an interview of him, and that's one quote that really stick with me, and it's relevant to this the book that I'm talking about today, Turn the Ship Around. Basically, it's written by a Navy. He basically used to command a submarine, right? In the Navy, and I think he's an admiral now or something. But anyway, he basically got in charge, got tasked with a very bad like very low performance submarine team basically. So the whole book is about how he turned the ship around, right? And like basically how he what did he do to make these like Navy sailors and work together, and then basically and then and in this basically this is quote that kind of summarize what he does. He basically turned every basically person into leaders in certain, that's his goal, right? So into a leader. And then the book basically go through like how he did that, how to implement that. So it's easy to say, oh, I want to motivate people and then I want to give them decision authorities, but not, I don't think it's very hard to do, right?
Yeah.
So the book basically talk about how to do that, and then we're gonna talk about that in more detail later. So yeah, that's the quote of the day. Great leaders, basically.
No,
And
that makes
it's
sense.
cool. So let's talk to one of the mini topics that we're gonna, before we go to the main topic, we're gonna go over some interesting happening during the week, past couple of weeks.
Damar Hamlin.
Damar Hamlin. I don't know who that is.
What?
How do you not know who this
Have
is?
have you not been?
He's a football player.
Yes. So, like, literally, okay, Cincinnati and Buffalo were playing last Monday night. They're two of, like, I mean, them and Kansas City are basically the top three teams in the AFC right now, like
Okay.
favorites to go to the Super Bowl. And
He had a heart
so, like,
attack.
yes, literally, he gets like perfectly normal looking play for the NFL. And basically, like, so he gets hit, like, it's just a like pass to T. Higgins on Cincinnati. Like, Damar Hamlin's a defensive player for Buffalo. Like, he takes what looks like to be a pretty typical hit, bounces right back up, takes like 2-3 steps, and then just collapses, like falls. And like basically everyone at like all of a sudden is just like racing around. And yeah, basically like the hit he suffered was like in a perfect window, like to throw off the rhythm of his heart and put him in cardiac arrest.
Oh.
So they actually like so they stopped the game and like literally had to apply like do CPR on the field and apply a defibrillator on the field. And like he, I guess, is going like he seems to be making a recovery, and like neurologically he seems intact. So I don't know if like he'll be able to make a full recovery, but it's like trending in the positive direction at this point. But literally at the time they like they took him off on an ambulance, and and all of this went on, and the game was literally canceled. So it's like like literally Buffalo and Cincinnati will play one fewer game than like every other team in the league, which, has implications for like the playoffs and, where games are hosted. And so it's been a very, very big story for the last, week-ish. Yeah. So.
Yeah, I guess I'd miss it somehow, but I remember hearing about this from baseball when I was younger about, I don't know if it's a story or just a myth, but like if you get hit in the chest, like just at the right moment in your heartbeat, it can like stop your heart from a baseball. So I guess it's the same thing.
Yeah, well, exactly. I think it is exactly that injury that, yes, killed a pitcher or, some baseball player who got hit in the chest. Yeah.
Chinese know about this long for forever already, for centuries. That's why martial artists Chinese martial arts practice something called pressure points.
Pressure points.
You see in movies, anytime you just
Uh,
like tap someone, someone you could you could bend and pause,
so
give me a hard text and kill someone, just through these secret pressure points basically.
you look at their arteries, you're like, okay, I'm timing their heartbeat. I gotta just
Yeah.
hit it 1, 2, 3, go, hit
Yeah.
it at the right time.
Yeah, if you apply enough pressure, that's why you practice all the qigong stuff,
So
The Chinese medicine and the part of some of the Chinese medicine actually I'll do that. Now instead of give you medicine, actually just apply massage those pressure points.
So I had this is a fun anecdote. I had a friend in college and she took some self-defense class or something and said she'd learned pressure points or whatever to like knock you out or make you pass out or whatever.
Yeah.
And I'm kind of joking. I'm like, this is kind of stupid. I'm like, I don't really believe that. So she's like, you want me to try? And I'm like, all right, like it's some pressure point in the neck. So I'm like, okay, like I guess I got to put my mouth, my neck where my mouth is, I guess. Stick out my neck would have been a better analogy, and let her try it on me. So we stand up and she literally just swings her arm as hard as she can, just forearm bone into my neck. And it didn't knock me out, but I did like my vision went a little
Yes.
weird. And I'm like, okay, I'm like, that's not a pressure point. That's just hitting someone really hard in the neck or head. Like it's
Actually,
like
there is a pressure when you're choking something out, like police. Choking actually is a good technique to submit someone.
well, yeah, choking, or I guess it's kind of like
I mean, not choking, basically, cut off your blood
Yeah.
to your brain, right? That is considered, I guess, yeah, technically it's not really the pressure point, but it's basically doing something similar. Same principle, I guess.
I agree. I think it did that momentarily. The forearm bone slamming into
Yeah.
the side of my neck did that
Yeah.
momentarily. My point was like, I don't really feel like this is a pressure point. I'm like, that did kind of hurt. It did not make me fall down or knock me out.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, she also just learned it. If she was like more well trained, like he's
Maybe.
the instructor or something, they could do it. Like look at John Wick. He done that all the time.
It made me think of someone who's like, imagine if a boxer's like, I know pressure points, and then they like punch someone in the jaw, just like throw a hook to the jaw and it knocks them out, and they say pressure point. It's like it's not really. That's not what I guess people think of when they think pressure points, which is you're not usually thinking of like blunt trauma to the head. You're usually thinking of like a small push on like one point of the body that does something with the nerves. I don't know. I thought it was a fun story.
No, that is, yeah. I mean that is a good story. I mean, it's sort of like I don't know what it's like. I was just thinking of like like I'm trying to think of a good example because I feel like a lot of people will sometimes do this. Will be like, oh, it's simple. It's just this. But then actually this is like 9 different steps, or like, it's like an extreme version of this. But yeah.
What are you talking about? Pressure point?
What?
Are you talking about pressure point or something else?
Well, no. I was just thinking in general, people often will like use hyperbole, like, but it's not hyperbole. It's like almost like understating,
downplaying.
Yeah. But
gotcha.
And then, but yes, I mean, I guess that's a very physically grounded example of downplaying. So
okay,
I see.
Yes.
Going back to DeMar Harlan, I think Hamlin. One of the issue, I think the back thing is it Hamlin?
Yes.
His last name? Okay. I think one of the issue controversial is because I think people are saying that complaining, and NFL took an hour to decide to cancel the game. And also, he just basically saying that NFL doesn't really care about players basically, and then especially with the CTE stuff and all the other controversies. Just safety stuff, right?
Sure. I mean, CTE aside, because I mean, CTE is, I mean, I think there's evidence that, they were aware of stuff and, whatever. And I mean, CTE is common across a lot of different things, but I guess when it comes to canceling the game, there's the controversy of like, oh, were they trying to just like, essentially they knew they were going to cancel it, but they just sort of like didn't announce it so they could keep playing the commercial, like essentially retain viewers, right? Like, so they could keep collecting advertising money. And, and I mean, there's controversy about like, I don't know if like a lot of sports media personalities, but like Skip Bayless is like, a good shit talker, basically. Like, and he'll often like tweet and say pretty controversial things, and like he is under like a shitstorm right now because he tweeted something like, like this is like the biggest game of the season, and like this is the biggest game of the season, and like like the NFL has to figure out how to play it, but all like he did have like an out at the end, like, but none of that seems to matter now because of this guy's health or what, like he had this tweet basically being like, how are they not going to resume this game because it needs to be played? Oh, but this guy may have died, so like it is, that none of that really matters now. So I think a lot of people were thinking about like the game and how can it resume, and like what do we do, right? Because it's a Monday night game. They can't really delay it because like both teams have to play today, like you can't shorten their weeks more necessarily. And basically this, like, today is the last day of the regular season, so there isn't a whole lot, like, because the game was canceled, like the AFC championship game may actually take place at like a neutral site. So if like Kansas City and Buffalo are in the championship game, they're not going to play it in Kansas City or Buffalo. So which is like which is, I mean, it's a loss of money for the cities. It's like a loss of I guess a benefit for the team that would have been the home team. So the cancellation of the game brought a lot of complexities and I guess unfairness from the perspective of some teams into like what is a lot of people view as we've talked about before on the podcast, like almost like a religion. People take it very seriously. There's a lot of money at stake. So, so I think the NFL probably did, in a way, want to continue the game. I think they did realize they couldn't. And I also will say, like, I think when it comes to like those types of decisions, like the NFL can't unilaterally make them. Like they actually need to like go to the Players Association and stuff to like make it official or whatever, like to say we're allowing this to happen. Like they both need to agree. So I mean, it's a complex situation. I get like, yes, it's like a guy who probably should have died, which is scary. And the NFL
should have died.
well,
Could have died. I mean, could have died or should have died.
should have died in the sense of like, his heart's like he was dead on the field. His heart had stopped on the field.
Yeah, that's
but,
right. Yeah.
But it's like, so I mean, I guess, yes, very well could have died. And, I mean, I'm sure that's traumatizing for players, and to ask them to, all right, like 15 minutes later, like, wipe the tears away and get back out there, that's shitty. But I also get like this is like a situation we've literally never dealt with and don't know what to do, from the powers that be either. So,
yeah.
And
so actually that's kind of coming to kind of actually leads pretty good to the main topic of turn the ship around.
That is true.
Is basically because it's about a decision, right? The decision that is such a complex system in a way, and then decision a lot of people. That's why the decision was made in a very slow way, right? Because there's so much change, and you don't know who. I guess maybe the commissioner, NFL commissioner, made the decision on the CEO, right? But maybe he doesn't get the information right away because I don't think he was the net person, right? So he probably doesn't have the information, right? So so I don't want to kind of speculate what happened there, but I think it's because maybe this it's slow because someone is not making, as you say, like it's a hard decision. So maybe nobody know how to really make the right decision.
Right.
Maybe include the commissioner too. But how do you do that in such a complex system? One of I guess the book is talk about is to kind of move the decision authority instead of to the top, right? Who have the authority? You should move the authority on the decision to where the information is, basically to the ground, to whoever like on the field and that day, maybe like in those situations, who is close to this information, who then the authority, whoever should make that they should make the decision there. And then I think one of the reason and they was slow making that decision because the person probably in charge probably did not have all the authority. That he's not probably maybe that doesn't he wasn't sure he was able to make that decision. He or she doesn't he wasn't sure that he was allowed to make that decision.
Yeah.
So maybe he would. So there's a lot of bad generally going on, talking to different people. I think in that case he should just he or she just made that decision right there. But I think she just worried about all the consequence to of the decision, right? So
Well, yeah,
I think
well,
that's possible. I'm saying that's one of the possible. But I think that's one of the book is touch on is to one principle that if you want to make a good, speedy decision, you make sure. Of course, you need to make sure the person is qualified to make a decision.
right.
But once you know you have you trust the person to make the decision, you should move the authority to the person with the most information.
Right. No, I like that principle, and I
Mhm.
also will say like I guess it could be argued. I mean,
Mhm.
to a certain extent, like I guess the players literally like the players sort of made the decision we can't play. Like they left the field like once DeMar Hamlin had sort of left the field, like
Yeah.
they they sort of left the field, like packed up. And so I
Mhm.
think they sort of made it like we're not playing, depending, like the NFL can do what it will, like the office can do what it will, but like they were not going to finish
Exactly.
the game.
So I'm saying that if the person on the ground know that information right away,
hmm
they should just make that call like in like maybe 10 minutes later instead of an hour or 2 hours later, right?
Right,
Because
right, right.
if the person do the calculation and say, okay, all the players not going to play anyway, so
Mhm.
there's no point of debating and then ask permission like what decision to make. That's the decision because if the player is not playing, there's no decision. You just
I see,
you
yeah.
have no choice, right? If I'm saying that the person in the ground in making that decision has the authority to make decision that day,
Mhm.
has should be the person who has all the information, right?
I gotcha. Yeah.
Closest to the information, right?
Mhm.
Yeah. Anyway,
No.
just anyway, just straight to that. So let's get into the main topic today.
Okay.
So yeah, I mean, all right, turn the ship around. All right, so where do I want to start? I want to start, I guess, in personally, I like this book a lot because it's actually very applicable to my job right now. Or what I do in the field, because basically I'm deployment team, like deploying robots in the in like customer environment, right? So it's
Mhm.
almost like it's deployment initiatives of how deployment for like submarine, right? You on the Navy sailors, they got a submarine ready. It's a very, very, very complex system, right? It's a nuclear submarine, right? People could die, very things could happen. Anyway, it's very similar to where operation, like any kind of business or any kind of you have operation, you have like engineering. All the time you have operations team, right?
Mhm.
It's very applicable to that as well. So for me, I have every day I'm on site on like customer environment, try to get a robot running, operating a robot. You have people like operating a robot. You have engineering trying to support fixing the robot, and basically it's very applicable to my basically everyday work. So the stuff I learn, I actually apply it directly and find it really very useful. So
Mhm.
and I think you might find it useful too in the future if you get into a position where you have to like people reporting to you. So my question to start maybe is like, do you have any do you have anybody reporting to you now currently, Mike or Matt? Like,
Not directly, no.
oh, okay.
No.
What about you, Matt?
I guess like one or two students I sometimes sort of mentor and do stuff, but very limited.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
I would
Sounds
say,
good.
well, I had Matt reporting to me when he helped out with my study. So,
True. Very true.
Uh,
Yeah.
he
Sounds
loved
good.
bad
that.
times, bad times.
So yeah, so before I get into the leader to leader model is I think once traditionally I think even you brought out in the beginning I think you talked about when you think about leadership you always think about military, right? And military traditionally is always actually most of the time when you think of military is almost like someone commander leader, right? And
Mhm.
then just basically leads people. There's like almost like very structured. and that means like you just tell basically leader in a way is almost like very rigid in a way where you're supposed to follow whatever the commander says, you do whatever exactly he says, right?
Mhm.
Right. That's the leader follower basically the model that people business I think is still practicing, right? I think that's easy to do anyway because you just a lot of times you just don't know what to do. You always want to look up to someone, and someone just tell you what to do, especially in the
So
beginning, right?
it's like a
Yeah,
waterfall leadership or whatever they call it. Or
I don't know.
like I know like when I learned what do you call it? Like oh my God. What do they use in all the software engineering companies now? Like
Agile
the agile, yeah. Like when I was
You mean
learning about
agile?
agile development, like waterfall, like
is the traditional way.
yeah, waterfall's the traditional way where yes, basically like the tasks and like timeline are just go like down like a waterfall. So
Okay, I don't think that's a waterfall is a good analogy for leadership model or leader follower.
well, it's
You're
just
rejected. Mike,
If
shut
you
up. Let you
if
keep talking.
if you want to talk about software engineering, it's more like master slave. Remember the master slave,
Hey.
the
Yes.
technology, the controversial master slave model.
Yes,
Who came out with that?
I don't know.
Yeah.
yeah.
Anyway, so yeah, and that's I guess yeah, it's almost like I guess if you really go extreme, it's almost like master slave. You should really lead a follower, right? So it's basically leadership is about like basically the model is about controlling people in a way, right? And then you divide a group in people into two groups, like leader and followers, right? Which I never really learned the concept. I really actually never really see myself as comfortable with the idea of being a leader anyway.
Mhm.
I usually don't like to say I'm a leader or something. I mean I just that's why I never try to be a leader. It's like oh, there's too much work anyway. So, and then anyway, so and then another thing is so like leader structure basically almost enforcing a way and like just do what you are told to do, right? Instead of like be your own. You kind of make people into a cog in the machine in a way. Just like oh, I was telling you to do this, and it's not. Also, the people and the followers, they are just like okay, and I don't need to think too much. I just receive a task and just execute it, and that's all I need to do. Instead of like thinking about bigger picture of like what do you call that? Like a bigger mission goal, right? Why are you doing it, right? So it basically made them into not thinking too much, just do what they were told, basically. Which is I don't think is good for the team. Also, it's not good for the person, the individual themselves, right? Because yeah. Anyway, so I guess going to the any questions about that? I think so. We all agree the leader follower model is bad. It's not good.
Yeah.
I think it might be good in the beginning, but yeah,
Mm.
but after you get your people confident enough and they should be uh anyway empowered to do something else. So
Yeah.
so one of the thing about leader following, how do you get into that? So the goal of the leader model basically, you want to make your people into leaders, be independent and motivated, right? And
Mhm.
as one of the things that we talked about already is basically about I think Matt you also brought up too. It's about dedicating control, right? Distribute your decision authorities. And the one thing I mentioned is that move the information to the don't move the information to the authority, like the CEO, but you move authority of the decision to where the information lives, right?
Mm.
Okay. And then, so to implement the leader model, and then one of the method, one thing he talked about, like there's a lot of mechanisms and principles he basically outlined in the book to talk about how to do that. And the
Mhm.
first one is short and early conversations, basically, like make efficient work. So basically, do quick and short conversations with your teams on constantly, right? Giving them feedback right away. Don't wait like after something happens and you just also a lot of information. Yeah, basically get quick feedback and stuff like that. Any ideas? Any comments?
Now this does sound like waterfall versus agile, though. That's
Yes.
exactly the agile philosophy in
Yeah.
software,
Mhm.
right? Like
Yes.
quick prototypes, early discussions with like the consumer or whatever.
Mhm.
Not to go back, but yeah.
Yeah.
No, right? That's good because you don't want to it both avoids one sometimes it avoids people either working off kind of starting off on the wrong thing or just not doing anything until you get
Yeah.
the big official document or whatever. It just gets the process going quick.
Yeah. No, I mean,
Yep.
I think it's good. I will say, like, to me, sometimes even short conversations can, like, I mean, I guess it depends, like short, like, I appreciate like the agile shorts, like literally like 5 minutes at the beginning of the day or something, but like sometimes I feel like short can be taken poorly, or like, the definition can
Oh yeah.
extend to like 15, 30, hour long meetings, and it's like, no, this is throwing off like the whole day now. Like,
Yeah. No, short conversation. It doesn't have to be 5 minutes or 10 minutes. It could be an hour, right? You have one-on-one meeting with someone. That's a just like quick, short, frequent conversations, basically, right? To make sure you are guys on the same page and issues, stuff like that. And it doesn't have to be like maybe sometimes short means one day, all day could be, right? It doesn't. The duration is not a main concern, right?
well, I
Yeah,
guess,
well, the
but that's
duration's got to be appropriate to the scale of the
Yeah,
task, right?
to the situation, right? Yeah.
Yeah.
Now, if you have engineering teams, now if you what big project, research project, maybe you just need to do it a whole day, right, to talk about it. I don't know. But anyway, yeah, short, early conversations. Basically, the goal is to give feedback as quick as possible, so you can adapt, change. But the conversation is not about telling them people what to do, but basically like give clarifications, providing why, right, stuff like that.
Mhm.
Any confusions, basically providing quick feedback as soon as possible.
No, I mean, I think feedback is important, and staying on the same page regularly is important.
Yeah. Actually, before I go on, I want to kind of have an idea how you guys work in your organization. Like how in your work, like was anything that you like? What your like maybe project managers, PMs, and or leaders in the organization, you like what do you like them do, and then don't what things that you wish they can do better, and like
Mm.
any thoughts?
All right, Mike, you've worked at your job longer, so you got to go first.
Yes.
Well, no, I mean, I basically think that what I've found, I mean, really over the course of working, but also even in the PhD, is like it's good to have like a plan, sort of
Mm.
like it's good to have like an overarching like timeline, and basically like these are the steps we need to accomplish.
Mm-hmm.
And it's good to like put dates to them, but it's also good to, like, I mean, I guess since we're all like thinking of robotics, it's good to be deliberative and have that plan, but it's also important for, I guess, the system as a whole to be reactive. Like it, because I mean, inevitably, like there's
Mm-hmm.
going to be things that come up that are going to change those timelines, like, change your understanding of like you thought a task was necessary or important, and it becomes, I'll use the word like impossible, or it becomes like the task doesn't make sense in the process anymore. So you may need to skip beyond that task or replace it with multiple tasks. And so, I mean, I think it's good to be deliberative, but it's good to be reactive.
So you're saying you're basically talking about Mike Tyson's quote.
Oh, okay.
Do
What
you know
is
what
that?
that is?
I don't know what that is.
Oh, everybody has a plan until they got punched in the face.
Oh yeah, that's right. Yes.
Mhm.
No, I mean, that's
Something like
basically
that.
it. That's basically it. Yes.
Yeah.
It's like you can plan all day, but until
Mhm.
you actually dig into the task at hand, you don't know what you're dealing with.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Mhm.
But you didn't. But it's not about like how your managers or your works though? Now, do you have any specific?
Well,
talk about,
no, I think that
are they
is
good at
very
planning?
related.
Oh, okay. How is it related?
Because they, I think, can either be married to the plan or they can be like flexible.
Oh, do you have that experience? Like a lot of people are very like stick with the plan instead of like flexible and changing.
Yeah, I mean, I think it varies. I mean, I think it's like, I think it's. I mean, I've had experiences with people, yes, who can be like overly married to like, sort of the like, oh, this is what we said months ago, and it's like, well, like that was months ago. Now things have changed, and I think there are also people who, very much recognize that, like, oh, things change, and now we need to be able to adapt and.
So how was I guess how was the plan communicated in the beginning? Was it just a meeting?
I mean, meetings, documentation. I mean, like,
Okay.
yeah.
So somewhere there's a missing that whoever made the plan did not get the information that things were changing and adapting. So that's why when they were surprised or caught off guard that plan changed, right?
No.
No?
I mean, no. I think, no. I think some people just don't necessarily like. I think, oftentimes, I think the people, like, I mean, you are, I think, a clear exception. Like, you managing projects, you have a pretty extensive technical background.
Yeah.
But I think a lot of people, like, who work in operations do not have that background.
Yeah.
And may not like, so when I say like like you sort of have a plan until you dig into the task at hand.
Yeah.
What I mean when I say dig into the task at hand, like when it comes to setting up a study, or like when I was running my study with Matt, like there's things that come up that you like, it's like the
Yes.
technical pieces are can be a pain in the ass, like,
Yeah.
and it's like they may change things, but it's like, so I think as an operations person, that because you have that technical background, but I think the vast majority of operations people do not have that background. So
Gotcha.
they're like,
Okay.
how can the deviation, like, how can there be deviations like this? It's just technical. It's technical. And it's like, no. Like, the technical is, not a straightforward process, right? So I
Yeah.
think teaching that can be like an endeavor. So
Okay. So basically you are blaming whoever made a plan instead of you yourself as a technical person communicate the information to the person that made the plan that things have changed. You did not. I'm saying that you probably did not communicate it very frequently, or did you? I'm
well,
accusing you of
no, I think, like, so I made the plan.
you made a
Like,
plan.
yeah, so I can make a timeline. Like, as an expert, I can say this is my best guess of what's going to happen. And I can say, like, but that is subject to change. Like, this is my best guess at this time.
Yeah.
But
So
it's not.
from you say from your experience, some people in your organization sometimes and it's you say in your experience sometimes some people are just married to their plan, basically that's your bottom line.
Right. Yes.
Okay.
Like, so basically, I think, like, again, just using robotics as an analogy, like, systems can be like overly deliberative, right? Like, you can have a map of a place and you can tell the robot, like, this is exactly how you drive through the place. But if the robot doesn't have obstacle avoidance and the place changes, the robot will drive into a wall or drive into a box that could move somewhere. Because, like,
Okay.
you could, like, you can't just follow the plan, like, you need.
Yeah.
And I think people can be, who don't know the technical details behind everything can say, like, well, what can possibly change? It's just,
Okay.
you have the map already.
Yeah.
Like,
Well, another I guess another motivation for moving the decision authority to the information. So
right. And I think, like, at my current role, I think that, like, as I've sort of progressed, like, that's something they do really well. Like, they do, like, I think, like, people recognize that.
did you just say something you do very well?
No, the company.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so I mean, I think it's like, like having the ability to like, recognize like, hey, you are the technical expert, like, so you need to like basically if it's a technical expert decision to make, then,
So they are
I or
giving you
my
your
boss.
authority to make the decision now,
Yes.
and you are happy about it.
Yes.
Nice.
So yes.
Okay, that makes sense. Yeah, plan dominating
That's
the plan.
my perspective, I guess. But yeah, that's why I say I really like the like sort of like let decisions be made where the expertise is, because it's like I would not want to make like when people ask me things and it's like, hey, what do you think about this? And I like, and it's something that's just totally outside what I've done, I just panic because I'm like, I don't know, I've never done
Yeah.
that. So
Penny is a little bit extreme, but
yes.
what about you, man?
I guess your original question was about the leadership at my work, and I think it's pretty good. I think they do a good job giving. I mean, we have meetings with like goals and plans, but like we as individual engineers and developers and stuff have pretty good, like a fair amount of independent power to just do stuff. If anything, we might lean a little too much that way.
Mm.
I mean, I haven't been working there for even a year, and I haven't seen it bite us yet, but like, I mean, it's a thought I've had where like sometimes I realize like I'm just arbitrarily making decisions that will have a very significant impact on the outcome of stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And I know I don't know, like I know about some of the stuff very well, but there's a lot, like there's multiple groups at different like organizations and companies all working on this that like come together for like demos and field test and stuff. And it's like I don't know a lot of stuff that's going on. So I'll make my best, with the information I have, I will make my best decision. But um and then sometimes as our section team will make decisions and then we'll get to something and we'll realize it never, even though we might have talked about it at a meeting with our boss and he goes to these larger meetings with other people, not everything flows up. And then we'll be like surprised that like, oh, we changed this. And they'll be like, oh, you made that change? We didn't know that was happening.
Yeah.
So, it's it's one of those things. I like how when you say, instead of moving the information authority, move the authority to where the information is, that sounds really good. It sounds very nice. And I think it is a good thing to try to do. But often information is distributed. So to make the full decision, it's kind of a question of parallelization, right? Can you actually distribute the decisions? Is the decision localized and small enough that you can distribute it down, or do you need to collect the information from different people and different groups and different organizations to make the right decision, right? If the
Yeah.
critical information spread out, you need to centralize it first. So, yeah, it hasn't caused a problem yet for us. And I appreciate in general the authority. We're actually starting to try to do a little bit more, at least on the individual level. We're trying to say, hey, we're going to actually do more proper code reviews and stuff. If you're not a coder, we're basically saying when someone submits changes to the code to the project, basically someone else, at least one person, has to look and say, hey, this is right, this is good, this makes sense. Because previous, we could do that, but you could also just merge in whatever you wanted, pretty much whenever you wanted. And it was just sort of on faith that we were all being responsible and testing well and, not doing anything stupid, which 98% of the time works out, but everyone makes mistakes, right? So we're trying to
Yeah.
actually be a little more structured in that way. So
Nice. Oh, cool. And there's a couple of things that I can talk about in what you just experienced. One is about reviewing code and stuff like that, and I telling people before you make a decision, you do something, and then you figure, oh, it's not what they want. I want to bookmark on that. Another one is about information. You say you're lacking information. I guess the one most important thing is that the reason you make that because you don't have all the information. What's the critical information? I was curious. Now, what could help you make that decision better? Is it the goal? I mean, from my personal experience, all times I feel like there's a decision I don't know how to make. I don't have all the information. One, the key information is and the objective and the goal. Even the overall goal of the project? Like, what's the goal? Sometimes it's just maybe something else. I guess for you, like, what's the key missing information?
um
Is it,
I think our goals were pretty defined. I think the bigger thing it came from, or some times where it caused a little bit of an issue is just because we had basically different components being engineered and worked on. So,
Mhm.
we'd have us, we're working on code for our system, and some other guys are working code for this other system that pipes information into ours, and we have our assumptions about how it works. And then we go out to do this big field test, and then it's like, oh, like the way it gives stuff or how the way it looks, is different than we expected, or it's doing things that in hindsight we might be like, oh, we probably should have expected it would work like that, but at the time we didn't know, we didn't think about it because that's the first time we try to integrate pieces from two
Yeah.
different groups and two different organizations together, right?
Yes.
So I mean, um,
I
to some
yeah.
degree that's the inevitable process, but to
Yeah.
another degree it's like, oh, we could have, if we had shared the critical information, we might have been able to like speed certain things up. But
Yeah. Yeah. No, that makes sense. I kind of personally experience that almost every day. Like some information, like because I mean, you have a bunch of people working together, right? Not everything's gonna be communicated. Or key information is gonna be, and then sometimes you just don't have time to read everything, also, and then some information just got missed, right?
yeah.
And then you find out, oh, okay, this how this how this some, for example, some engineer make an update to something to the system, and then you find out when you start using it, it's oh, surprise, this is how this works now. Something got changed, right? Yeah. Mm. So yeah, so I guess what were we talking about? Yeah, no information. I get one thing I frequently is about like telling people what to do, authority stuff. One thing I constantly find out is that experience, and is by me as we talk about the reason I ask why is it because the objective are miscommunicated. For me, find out I always experience that I feel like sometimes the goals and stuff are not really communicated, so that's why I always have a hard time making decisions on stuff. So that's why I'm
Mm,
always asking like why are we doing this, how we
mm,
and then what's the goal, right? So just that's some question I ask usually constantly, and so next one coming to one mechanism or principles that he talked about in the book Turnership Around is it's about specifying the goals but not a method, basically, right? You have a goal, there's one way to basically have giving people more autonomy, right? And yeah, so does it make sense? I'm saying it's probably obvious, right? Just
Mhm.
tell people what to do and like why, and like give a go, right? And just but you don't care about how it's done, right? As long as
yeah.
it gets done, yeah.
No, I mean, I think that matches my experience because I think we did have very clear goals for our project. So even when we like different groups kind of did things that we didn't realize the other were doing, like it was never like a critical issue or a major problem. It was just
Hmm.
like surprise and we had to adapt some things. But since we maybe because we all knew the goal well, in the end we were all working towards the same thing. So it
Yeah.
was nothing
Sounds, yeah,
insurmountable to fix, right? Something
yeah,
like, oh, we just got to adjust a few things, but it's not like a major problem.
yeah. I mean, you are because you are essentially a researcher and scientist. You already got your PhD, and a lot of people in your teams use a PhD, and everybody is very used to being independent, like maybe too independent sometimes, right? And just making decision without basically telling other people sometimes, and then so actually I actually in my I had an experience too in my company, right? Because when we have like, for example, that's why maybe sometimes we like for startup companies, it's better to have like just engineer instead of PhDs, because we have some issue with like just sometimes some PhD, highly educated people, they just engineers and they just make decisions on their own without without not communicating, just without like consulting other people, like and then then we find out in the end, oh, this is not good, it's terrible. Is so it's not a right decision to make, but yeah, so then I guess there's a caution to moving in authority to information, basically, right? Make sure you have the right information, yeah. And then one thing about, I think what you just say is about I think one thing that one of the principle you want to touch on is called take deliberate action, right? What that means is, I think it actually kind of relate to what you just say. You say you sometimes make decisions and then find out in the end that it might not be, maybe it's not good decision to make, right? I'm not sure if you encountered that, but I'm just saying that maybe in some case you might encounter it in the future. And I guess, did you encounter that?
Yeah, there's
Okay,
at
so
least once when we're
so
basically sorry,
yeah, go ahead.
you go.
Go ahead. Go ahead.
No,
Basically, go. No, I need more information.
it was just there was one case where like I remember like something didn't work right at a test, and I remembered specifically like being home, like just like shirtless in my apartment, and just thinking about like, should I do it like this? And I'm like, I'm pretty sure that'll work. Like I remember thinking about that very thing and being like, yeah, I think that's gonna work. And then like a few weeks later, we get to the test, and it's like, oh shit, like like that's it, nothing absolutely critical, but we had to fix it later to be like,
Oh,
oh
I remember the instant. You talked about it last time. You're talking about, I remember your shirtless story.
yeah, I
You
just
say
that
you
was
were just
yeah, the
surprised
contrast
how.
between being like so casual but being like making important decisions on your own
Yeah.
while just like casually chilling in your place, right?
And then
Like
somehow that decision you made was terrible. It was a bad decision, basically.
it's a bad
Find out a
decision.
couple of weeks later. So
Yeah.
how come you did not communicate and consult the other people about the decision?
I mean, I
You did
think the
not.
main reason is because I have to make so many, I can't
Mm,
if and this is something actually we're starting to encounter with the code review thing. It's like if you have to consult on everything, that slows progress a lot.
mm-hmm.
Like you could easily get half as much work done if you have to discuss everything, right? So there's a balance with everything, right? So
Mm-hmm.
you reviewing code, and I think that will make it more robust, but that's a lot more work to do all these code reviews. So like the amount of code you'll actually implement is going to go way down.
Mm. What about the short and early conversation that we talked about earlier? How come you guys did not you did not do something like that? And I just Slack message, hey, I'm planning to do this, just double checking.
Yeah, maybe we could do something like that where like beyond like our, we'll have a weekly meeting on
Just a
every
quick
major
message, right?
topic,
But
like
can it
some
go
channel where we
line by
just say,
line? Like, I mean, right? Like, in theory, like a bug could happen on any line of code. So it's like, I mean, so I guess like you could have someone literally like essentially redundancy, right? Like you could have essentially here's a programmer, here's the QA tester for that programmer who's just like constantly like being fed like the most up-to-date code and like making sure it's okay.
But code reviews will be different, right? Code review is
yeah,
the finding of bugs. I'm talking
I think
about
shoes, yeah, thinking about like
more higher
design and
level. Yeah,
decisions and stuff.
exactly.
And yeah, like I could imagine we could have a Slack channel where every like kind of feature change, at least everything, every little feature change gets in. Because we have like a thing where we do issues and enhancements, but those are generally for larger scale things. You'll make a page, you'll put some documentation, you'll talk about what you're doing, but we
Right.
save that for the big stuff. Could you do that for every little decision? Maybe. We don't.
So
Right?
actually, that's one of the principles to help with like implementing the leader followers, right? Leader model is one thing is called take deliberate action. So something in the military called point and shoot, right? I think I actually don't know how it works, point and shoot, no idea. But I think that means it's that you point somewhere and then you shoot it first, then you shoot it, right? So it's not you point and shoot. That means that you point is an action that you show people that's what you are gonna shooting and then shoot, right?
Mm,
So basically, what it means like it means like before you do any action, you basically just like pause a little bit, give a gesture, tell people what you're gonna do, communicate that information just in case someone could have just like you don't have to wait for confirmation, but
right.
someone could just double check you say, hey, just let that information be out there, and someone might catch it basically. So of course they don't catch it all the time, but someone just basically take deliberate action, just communicate what you're gonna do, like intend to do, and then just pause a little bit, and then just and then do it, right? So if no one responds, then it's fine, and just basically that's why I call it take deliberate action instead of just like do it like you think in without any communication. That's what you're gonna do.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Well, question,
Yeah.
you say you're sort of managing stuff now. Do y'all do this? Have you set this up at your work?
Yes. Then that's what I find super useful. In these perks, imagine this scenario. I have an operator, right, controlling a robot. and then someone could be on the other end is doing like, for example, maybe eavesdropping a robot or something, right? Someone is on the floor, is walking with a robot, try to make sure everything's safe, right? Just a scenario, right? And then if you do this basic operator, instead of like without any communication, you just like slam on the throttle and then drive the robot into a specific location, right? You basically communicate, just have a heads up instead of just say, oh, I'm gonna do this, right? So I use that when I operate a robot. I just gonna say, this is what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna make a left turn before I do a left turn. Make a right turn. Maybe that's too much, but that's something that I started to use. Like, okay, I'm gonna lower. I'm gonna drive. My plan is drive robot straight and then make a left turn and stuff like that. Right? It's just a quick, very like low level. And of course, you can apply this higher level too to your decision making. But this is like I need to use this every day. I find it very, and it's useful, and I know what's going on. Right.
So basically, you're the person who has the sort of authority and the expertise to make this low level decision. And you, rather than, but you're not discussing it. You're not doing it. You're just communicating like, this is what I'm doing.
Yes. Yeah.
Okay.
This is what I'm going to do. I'm doing this right now. Yeah. This is very granular, but you can apply to high level decision that you might take longer pause instead of me just like say, hey, I'm going to do this and then do it right away. Right. And then if you, for your decision, Matt, like, maybe you need to wait like maybe 30 minutes, an hour, before you execute a decision, right? Something similar. And I found that useful actually now that I found that the people I've been working with, I found that once we start doing that, they became more engaged and like more communicative about what they do. So I kind of like that too, because there's more conversation there, and then just I feel like make people a little bit more engaged in on the task, right? And then other plans too. Like for example, I always try to communicate. Okay, this is what plan of the day. Who's going to do this plan? Things could change, but just communicate ahead of time and just double checking. Just a lot of communications going on basically. Like, oh, this intention. Are we going to do this? This today, and anything maybe double check it, and then stuff like that.
Yeah.
Yep.
That makes sense.
Yeah, I mean a lot of stuff actually related to communication, actually. But yeah, one thing is take deliberate action, basically point and shoot, and pause before you execute it. Yeah.
Oh, okay. Oh,
Yeah.
I guess that makes. I was thinking you just meant like, basically like just, like say I'm doing this and do it. But I guess yes, you can.
Oh
wait
no
to see if they object.
That's how I interpreted it. I was like,
Yeah.
am I gonna wait for every little thing? No, but I can put it and then I can do it and move on. And if later that day someone's like, oh, this could be an issue, I can be like, I need to change it, right?
Yeah,
Yeah.
depends on the decision too, right?
Yeah.
So for example, now if you're gonna make it right, even like if you communicate information and you execute a decision, if someone catch it the next day, then you could change it right away instead of waiting 3 weeks later, right?
Right.
So yeah.
Yeah.
So I mean, basically communicate what you intend to do to the information out there, basically.
Right.
And it also, I think, help you pause a little bit. You can double check yourself too. I'm gonna do this before you execute it. Yeah. All right. Another related sound call. I kind of confused initially. I kind of confused take deliberate action with something called think out loud. Right. Right. So think out loud is a little bit different from taking deliberate action. Basically, if you're thinking something, just go ahead and communicate it. Basically, instead of saying it doesn't have to be something that you plan to do. Like you're just thinking, okay, this is good, this is bad, stuff like that. I know just casual conversations with your teammates and people you're working with, basically, like just thinking out loud, of course, yeah, about a test and stuff like that. Of course, don't think out loud whatever your dirty stuff or you're thinking in your mind stuff at a moment, right? But stuff related to work appropriate.
Right.
Right. And does it make sense?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Any question, any comments about it? Thinking out loud?
A more general comment is I'll notice there's a few now that involve basically trying to share information more. And we talked about earlier about not moving the information, but moving authority to information, and how that only works as if the local area has all the information. So I guess
Mm.
this is sort of in concert with that. You move decision authority down, and instead of trying to have the information be like you report to your boss and they report up, you know,
Yeah,
conversations and saying what you're going to do and thinking out loud, that's sharing information horizontally, right?
yeah, yeah,
So at a lower level, people maybe have the
yeah,
information they need. That's at least
yeah,
the image I'm starting to get of how
yeah,
this process
exactly.
might work.
Yeah, yeah. And how do you implement a leader power? Also, it help you whoever, if you're on the top, right? If you're managing a lot of people, and the CEO, managing a lot of people, you actually, if if your people is doing this, like doing thinking out loud, this is something I actually try to get people to do. I don't think I have fully get people to do that yet, and because I haven't really fully communicate like something we did do, but the benefit of that is that if you people is thinking out loud all the time and having informal conversations, you are hearing that, right? You're getting that information, and you can actually then you can say, oh, you can double check. Okay, this is not the right decision on the right information. Some information missing, you can quickly jump in, say, hey, provide help and guide them a little bit, right, in the right decision, right. So that
Right,
way,
right.
make your job easier instead of controlling everything, right. Yeah. And then actually, things I'm just talking about, double checking, right. In my team, we already like something called, I actually make a list of rules from based on stuff I learned from this book, and also information for my team, like operation team basically. And one of the rule, the first rule is triple check, right? You always check each other. So one of the we do that already before I made the rule before I read the book. So but the book has a mechanism or principle called embrace the inspectors. Right. So basically in submarines, you always have before you like deploy in a submarine or something, you have a lot of time that inspectors, like external inspectors, come on to basically check your stuff before to how to grade you actually, and how good you perform basically inspectors. So the idea of the embrace the inspectors basically kind of, I guess, to basically make sure you're embracing basically you welcome like people double checking your stuff. That's my at least that's how I gonna interpret this statement and then apply it to my work basically. I always welcome that people like double check me. Actually, I love it when people double check me. I say, hey,
Mhm.
this isn't wrong, right?
Mm-hmm.
And it's called this anyway. Embrace the inspectors. Whoever have the decision, right? You like, for example, you communicate the information. Sometimes some people might feel bad when people double check you. You might say, oh, you don't trust me, right? Why do you double check this, right? I actually love it when people just double checking with me and stuff. Double checking my decisions. I don't see it as interference. I see it as a very good. I mean, they also show me that person actually cares. That's the most.
Mm-hmm.
Actually, that's a better. That's why I like it because it shows that he cares and also help me with my decision, right?
Mm-hmm.
And
And
I'll just say I think like this works well with the communicate constantly principles,
yeah,
because like I feel like I really like it's much easier to get defensive if you
exactly.
have been putting like tons, you've made a lot of decisions, like you're far down the path. But
Hmm.
if you're constantly sort of checking each other, like
Yeah,
while you communicate, then it's easy. It's like it's nice because you're like you're not married to a decision, right?
yeah, yeah. You're a
Uh,
team, right? So your team
yeah.
should, it's not about trust, right? It's not about trust. It's more about, just helping, watching other. I interpret it as like watching other people's back,
Right.
right? Instead of it's not a trust issue, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, speaking of trust, I guess the trust. A lot of times people, oh, you don't trust me. That's because I always say I trust. I trust that you believe what you believe. I just don't trust that you believe is correct. Like I trust that you did not lie to me, right? You believe your information, right? That's my interpretation of trust. And there's something they kind of talk about in the book. I said, oh, they make total sense. Right? I
I feel
trust that
like
you.
it sounds accurate. Have you told anyone that and gotten a good response from it? Because I'm not sure that would, if someone's like, you don't trust me, I'm not sure if that's would come over well.
I think I still working, try to practice how to communicate that correctly.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that's
No.
why then I have not prepared. If someone next time gonna tell me that they don't, you don't trust me, I gonna ask. I trust what you believe, that you believe in your belief, and you're not lying to me. But I don't trust your belief is correct.
Hmm.
I just need to verify that. It could be correct. I just need to verify that, basically. Yeah. Anyway, so embrace and express. So welcome. Just just get in the habit. I'll have people double check you and welcome that. Actually, encourage that too. And actually, like couple weeks ago, I was just me and my someone just working together, and then I think I was doing something, and she just said, "Oh, this is wrong." Like for example, I want to move the robot into a location, and I just enter a location that is actually not correct, and then someone sitting next to me, she would just checking, say, "Oh, this is not correct location." And I instant, I like it. Show me that I can. That's um I appreciate the correction and the instant, but I more appreciate the fact that she actually cared enough to double check. That means she was paying attention, she was engaged, and that's what I like. Yeah.
Hmm.
Anyway, anything else?
Not on that. You
No.
got any
Okay.
more principles for us?
Hold on. Let me double check. Continues consistently repeat the message. I think that's pretty straightforward. Another thing about communication, and that's something I like to do right now. Actually, is, a goal, right? To repeat it all the time, put it everywhere. I actually, for example, if the goal is to move, if I have a robot to move, like to do 100 texts per day, basically, if that's the goal, right? You just put that 100 number everywhere, right? And I even changed my Slack profile message to reflect that number. So every time I say something, the number is out there that is communicated clearly. So anyway,
Hmm.
what else? And the other ones, oh yeah, one thing I like is something called encourage questioning attitude over blind obedience, right? I think a lot of especially military, right? It's hard to do. I think you always just yes sir, right? Whoever's hiring, then you just like yes sir all the time, right? And just do that. But he he's saying that it's like encourage questioning attitude, right? So always when you say something, always welcome people to question your decision, basically. At the same time, so that's something I like too, right? I like when people because disagree with me and then try to question my decision. Why is it a bad decision? It kind of forced me to make sure. It forced me to think about my decision more, and then also, again, show them they are actually care and they are thinking too, right? They are thinking, they are engaged, right? They are engaged. And then you basically want your team member to be engaged, and that's one sign. If they start questioning that are questions, and that means they are actually engaged, they are thinking, they are actively thinking about it. And yeah, just double check your decision as well, right? Right. Instead of like giving orders, basically, right? So like instead of telling people what to do, basically. Yeah.
Hmm.
Does it make sense?
Yeah.
So everything I say makes sense? Perfect sense?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. Yes,
Okay.
sir. No.
Yes, sir.
No, I mean I guess all of these principles, like I mean, like if I can just, I guess, try to summarize a little, like I mean, basically, you want people all working toward the same goal. You
Mm-hmm.
want the appropriate amount, like, I mean, obviously, the sharing of information is a continuum, and like oversharing, like, or sharing all the time is too much, and sharing, like, there's sharing not enough. Like, you want to find like the appropriate sort of spot of communicating, like, what you're doing and the decisions that are being made, and you want the people who have the appropriate information to be making those decisions. So I mean, yeah. So I mean, I think that, like, when I think about sort of the most recent one and not saying yes sir and have a questioning attitude, that again is sort of the double triple checking you were talking about. And is good, assuming, you know, regular communication. I will say, like, there is some, like, I guess I have some, like, like, in practice, I guess, like, your boss may have information you don't have, and it's like, well, like, my decision may not make sense to you, but it makes sense if you have all the information. And like, there in practice, there also may be, like, if your boss may have information that you're not allowed to have, that like makes the decision make sense. But
Mhm.
you know, but yeah, assuming, I guess, everyone can have access to all information and communication's good, then yes, questioning is a good thing to do.
Mhm. So the favorite right now actually something called dumb brief certify dumb brief certify. Brief means like you have a briefing, like meeting, something like that.
Like
But instead you want
explain it. Yeah.
yeah, and but certify instead of doing that, but you should certify basically. Certify means I will go into that a bit later. So basically I like this one because I actually, as I go through my notes about this book and then try to get, I didn't get it first time I read it, and then I went through it again. I realized, holy shit, I need to implement this at my job and my work next week. This is a very super useful one for me, and it's right now. Which so dumb brief certify means instead of giving them information, you ask questions. Don't just have a meeting and then give people information, but actually ask them questions. So
Okay,
instead of
so
like,
in your field test example,
yeah,
what would that look like? So instead of, you saying, hey, these are the tasks we need to do, you're doing this, you're doing this. Are you asking them what are our tasks?
yes,
Do we
hmm
have anyone? Does everyone know what they're doing? Is there someone on
yeah,
this?
that could be a general question to start, right? Uh, I'm assuming as your team maybe so just in my team, we have been working quite a while, right? And then we assume we know each person's role, right? So
Hmm.
the plan for me next week is come in instead of just like telling them, oh, this is the plan for the day. I just gonna maybe start with a question. This is my just testing now. Just start with like doing that. I just gonna ask like, oh, anybody know what they're doing today? Just see what will come out of it. And then also certify also mean instead of question, instead of certify not just questioning, you certify. Make sure you want to make sure your team is certified to be ready for this operation for today. Right? Certify means if, for example, if I ask you, do you know what to do when this happens? Right? So give me a scenario when if the robot's stuck, right? Do you know what to do? Just an example. Like, or if maybe you have encounter some issue, a network issue, which is all the time with robots, right? Do you
Hmm.
know if you are like engineering, if your role is supporting, make sure the robot is up and running? Do you
Hmm.
know what to do basically? And could be a question like that. So you certify, make sure your team know what to do. That's an example, right?
Hmm.
And stuff like that, right? So if you make sure if your team's not ready, you give them that information to kind of have an idea where the gap is, right? Yeah. So it's like before you launch your rocket, you want to make sure everything is certified to be ready to have a good quality. Like if you want to deploy a code, right? You have a code review, right? It needs a certified kind of checking. Okay, everything is good to go. We have no bugs, but maybe that's that's a good example actually.
No, wait, it is or isn't, you're saying?
I just realized it might not be a good example, but
I think it
maybe.
is close to a good example
Mhm.
because this is test-driven development.
Yeah. Okay.
Uh, you're familiar with that, right, Mike?
Yeah, I guess so.
Not
But
really.
Yeah,
like,
no.
it's like a coding philosophy where rather than saying like, someone just says, here's the goals, and then someone implements it, and then they just like, instead of just them trying it, I guess, and saying like, hey, does it work or not? It's where you make explicit tests to certify that the code works.
Oh, okay, yeah, like yeah, so do
Unit
test
unit
cases.
tests, yeah,
Yeah,
test
yeah, yeah,
cases.
yeah,
So the idea
yeah.
is, and if you take it to the extreme, you can say, some people say the tests are the, like, yeah, they'll like the tests are the design. Like you make code that passes these tests and then it's certified to be working. I mean,
Right.
it's not exactly the same, but I think it's comes to a similar thing. Instead of just briefing or saying what to do, you use the tests, the questions to sort of guide to make sure everything's working right. Everyone is doing what they need to do.
Right. Any reachable piece of code will pass a certain, hold, like some condition will hold true, so it won't fail essentially.
Hmm.
So.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
Cool.
anyway, your example was on good shoe. That's what I'm gonna say.
Okay, that's good. That's good. So anyway, just certify. Make sure before you start doing something,
Hmm.
ask questions to make sure they certify and make sure that they know what's the right thing to do. Basically, then how to do stuff. Like instead of just telling them what to do, basically ask them questions and see what they tell you how they're gonna do it before you actually go out off and do that.
Hmm.
Yeah. So that's what basically don't brief and certify means. So instead of having just a meeting, just like giving you information, asking questions, certify, make sure everybody knows what to do.
Hmm.
Yeah. And the reason I realized like, oh shit, I need to do this next week because this is a very good actually thing to implement, right? Instead of just for me just giving you information. So another thing is about this one is actually it make people so every time you have a meeting, a briefing, people just come in, right? The only job for them during that time is to listen, right? The only job actually all they need to do is just show up. They don't
Their
even
brain
need to.
turns off.
Yeah, exactly. So
So would you say it's almost like in the process of asking people questions, it's almost like everyone gives the brief, but in little sections based on what's their
exactly,
thing,
yeah. And then you make people engage
right?
again, and that's a way to get people motivated about a job too. So they so what do you call that? So a lot of people like be prepared to come to the meeting because if they know they're gonna be asking these questions, they to make sure that they know stuff, right?
Right.
And so that's a way to make the team work better, more effective as well. Yeah.
Hmm.
So I like the reasons why behind if you start doing that, those are the two consequence results of those
Yeah.
things. So I said, oh, I was like, damn, I need to start doing this next week. I have forgot. I read it. I think I just like glanced through it and didn't really deep into it. But anyway, because of
Hmm.
this podcast, I am I read it again. So, oh, this is make perfect sense. Yeah. Anyway, that's pretty much it. And the other two I was going through is another two mechanisms or principles is resist like urge to provide solutions. I think that's really pretty explanatory, right? Instead of telling people like give people solutions, you just I don't know have get them and come up with a solution and decision first, right?
Right. Let the people with the information lead.
Yeah, and then the last one is that's a lot more, but the other one I want to touch on quickly is just something called eliminate top-down like monitoring systems, right? And instead of like checking, have a system, try to build a system that monitoring everything. I think you need basically the idea is to get rid of that. So you people are not being watched all the time, basically.
Hmm.
Just a lot of anyway. I don't think we need to go into that. And then basically, and there's other things. People should definitely should read the book if they are ever get into interesting how team works and then stuff like that. Anyway,
Yeah.
I found it very useful, so I actually bought a physical book, and I gonna put it and work and just have my team read it when if they are interested. Just have it there so they can read it too.
Yeah.
Mm.
I guess if I was going to try to summarize it in like a minute or less, it sounds like it tries to replace sort of vertical relationships, which is like the traditional, you provide information to your boss, they delegate actions to you, you show them your work, they give you feedback. Like that's the sort of the traditional
Hmm.
vertical exchange. And it's trying to put as much of that, obviously you can't do everything, but as much horizontal as possible.
Yeah.
Quick conversations, feedback, embracing, the inspector and stuff is like feedback at a horizontal level, sharing information on a horizontal level, pushing the decisions down, so it's spread out at
Hmm.
this level. It's just like as much as it gets shoved down, sort of as you can. Yeah, so that, yeah, you're not primarily relying on the vertical leader follower, just
Mhm.
everyone's your leader.
Exactly. That's a good summary. If you all need to listen, I just listen to that, and then we're good. It's just been an hour.
Well, it's easy to summarize, right? It's easy to
Yeah.
say, move the authority to the information, but how you do it is what's really the key,
Exactly.
right? So like getting
Exactly.
to some of these principles of like ways that actually get this going, right? And
Yeah.
some of them might be intuitive, like having people talk to each other, but the whole like briefing versus certifying, that's less intuitive, I think.
Yeah. Exactly.
Less
Yeah.
intuitive idea, but it provides some of that, getting people, engaged and thinking and sharing their own information rather than just expecting
Yeah.
the top down
Yeah.
orders.
Yeah. Yeah. Exactly. You hear all people like leadership principle. Oh, you need to take. You want people to take initiative, right? Stuff like that. But how do you have people do that? Is never really talked about.
Yeah, because like I mean, right at the beginning, right? You asked me about your "good leaders create followers" quote, and then
Yeah.
we mentioned right away because I think that basic idea is relatively well known, right? Like it's better if your people are their
Mhm.
own leaders or whatever. But yeah, how you do it is the tough part.
Yeah. And then that's one thing I really like in this book because it's so actionable for me personally. And for my work, I find it super useful and stuff. And I thinking out loud, take deliberate action, and all this stuff, and just find it super useful for me.
Yeah.
Anyway,
No.
and then also Anyway, that's good. And motivate too. No, motivate people. I think, and this is for another book, right? I would just want to conclude by saying that this is from another book called High Performance Management. It's from Andy Grove. He was the former CEO of Intel. And then
Mhm.
his book, he basically talk about what's the job of a manager, right? A lot of people think the manager just manage people, get people to do stuff. But actually, there's only two things you can do. One is motivate, and the other one is train. Right? Motivate people to be engaged, do the work. And the other one is train people, but make sure they have enough the competence and knowledge to do the work.
Mm.
Right? So train if you can basically So then I find that useful because all the time I see like people in my team, I feel like sometimes some team member might not be. It's usually some people who need people they are not familiar in the process. You feel like they are actually not being motivated, right? They are not caring, they don't care, right? You cannot just blame on this person is not engaged, not cared, he's not caring because he's a bad work. You say, oh, he's not a good team member because he's not caring. But actually, it's your job, it's my job to motivate them to care.
Mhm.
Somehow I need to motivate them. So that's the only thing I can do anyway. So, right, and then train them too if you think there's a gap in the knowledge. So
Well,
I find it super useful.
managers got a third option, which is
What's that?
hire and fire, but
Yes.
replace the team members.
Yes.
But
Well,
that's the more extreme one.
I'm the project manager, so I have no authority of firing and hiring. So I gotta
Okay,
work
okay.
with what we have, what I have, and and then how to motivate people. I feel like this book have a good way of like how to do that. So
Mhm.
anyway, that's it. Anything else, Mike? You want to cover?
I don't think so.
Okay, that's cool.
I have to go watch the Patriots.
Patriots.
Yes.
Why? Oh, is a game today?
Yeah, it's the start of the fourth quarter, and they're
Oh.
actually like in theory could win, even though they just fucked up.
Oh,
So
okay. So you sacrifice football for Junto Club.
that's right.
That's dedication. You've really motivated him, Shu.
That's right.
Yeah, I know.
Successful
I know.
leader.
Now I just
Fearless
need
leader.
I just need to motivate him to edit, make sure the episodes are published.
That's a step too far.